Hello guys, today we'll take a look at the AMX 50B, which I think is the best tier 10 magazine. I know that tanks like Pachat or the VZ51 are more popular, but I generally think that if you use this tank correctly, it is absolutely overpowered. If you want to see the setup, you can skip at the end, I will show you. And now let's take a look at the first battle. And for the first match we have Fjords on tier 10s, 2 archers, but they won't do anything on this map. And you may think why this tank is so hard to play with. The main reason is the turret. As you can see here, it's absolutely humongous and there is almost no armor on it. And that means that anyone who will shoot at you will just absolutely pen you most of the times. And everything else is pretty great about this tank. You have a magazine with 4 shells in the clip, each deals 400 damage with 2.5 seconds of interclip reload time. So that means in 7.5 seconds you did 1600 damage. Also the gun itself is pretty accurate with great penetration if you use the gold shells. And basically all of this means that this tank is hard to play with, but if you play it right, it can do absolutely huge things. Also another thing to keep in mind is the speed. We go up to 65 km an hour forward. Unfortunately the power to weight ratio is pretty bad, so we won't be going that if you don't boost it. But if you do, you definitely can go that fast. Now for the battle, as you can see here, we already did 1600 damage. One shell was in the Manticore, who was going on the hill, and second 3 shells were pretty lucky because our EBR played pretty aggressively and we managed to punish the FE402. And now this tank is so hard because of this turret. You can't really play like a normal heavy tank. You have to outsmart your opponents so they won't look at you, and then and only then you may attack the enemies. And yeah, as you can see here, the 60 TP shot, so now we are peeking. Also the T57 of our team got hit as well, and we managed to use that to our advantage. This battle is going pretty hard. We are playing on this side because there was nothing else we could do. Going middle is pretty risky, and going to the heavy line with tank with no armor is also not the greatest play. But what we have done at the start was great, because with this tank you need to find damage with no risk involved. So free damage flanking your enemies with this speed. As you can see here, this tank is extremely fast for a heavy tank. Also you have 2100 HP base, and if you boost it, you can see that you may almost have 2400 HP. We already lost a whole flank on this map, so I went back to defend. And this is another thing that you want to do with this tank. Try to pick your enemies, maybe take 1 shell and do 4. So we took 1 shell from the 277, now we won't be going after him. The Udes also picked here, so we managed to hit him as well. And even though we are losing 227, we already have 4500 damage. And it isn't like we aren't doing anything, so we are camping at the back and letting our team die. We are trying to win this battle. Unfortunately, some battles aren't just winnable. We lost the top side, we lost the middle, we also lost the heavy line right now. So now we have to just try and do as much for ourselves. Another great thing about this tank is the hull armor, so I will show you in a second. Even though your turret is extremely easy to pen, your hull armor is pretty well armored. So if you play in a certain way, you can make your enemies shoot you in the hull armor and they will probably bounce. So now we are losing only 2 guys left, the Grille and me. We cannot really win this, so we want to do as much as possible. 1 shot in the Leo one, another one, and the last shell. Unfortunately, I didn't make it happen. So 5000 damage already. That's the most we could do this battle. And for a game which ended in 4-15, it's a pretty good result. And now for the second battle we have Malinovka. Tier 9s this time, but unfortunately again 2 artists. This time the map is much more open, so they will probably hit us sometimes. And we have a heavy tank. You need to go to the hill. If you don't go hill, basically you are trying to lose the battle for your team most of the time. This is because if you take the hill, you have whole control over the top side of the map. It's pretty hard to push the bottom side of the map against the water, and with heavy tank it's even harder. Sniping also isn't a great play, and that is why our plan is just to go on the hill. You may think that this isn't the best play because we have no turret armor, as I said earlier. And most of the time you would be right. Fortunately, there is a one way to play the hill with tanks such as AMX 50B that you can use, and it's even better for tanks with the clip, so the magazine, and it's playing behind the windmill. Our plan is to do a trap, so we won't pick from the windmill, we'll hide behind it, and if the enemy comes up close to us, we'll just pick, take maybe 1 shell, do 4 shells, and just hide. So this is our plan. On the minimap, as you can see here, unfortunately our 277, which is the top tier tank, isn't going hill, and this is a huge mistake. That means that we probably will be in a losing position on hill. With the backchat, only 4 tanks will be on the hill. As you can see, there are 2 heavy tanks going behind us. So if we won't be here, we will probably lose this position. And as I said earlier, this is pretty important. Now, thankfully, our backchat is a player who reads the chat, so I help him to do a trap here. And thankfully, he just thought that this is a good idea and he tried to help me. And now, we are just waiting. So probably the E50M will be first. And we are just waiting till they get spotted. We just steadily, and yeah, we got spotted, so I know that the enemy is close. Unfortunately, we got pen once, also we bounced 1 shot, but now you can see the power. 3 shots in for almost nothing, only 1 shot. The whole armor also bounced, and now we are just waiting. We can already see that there will be 6 enemies on the hill versus only 4 of us, and 1 is backshot. So we need to play very carefully. We need to shoot all our shells. We need to hit all our shells. The E50M is almost dead thanks to us. And now we can see that the 705 doesn't really know what he's doing. So we are just going to punish him. 20 seconds later, 25 seconds, because this is the real time of this magazine. We are just doing 1600 into the 705, and he is dead. Someone killed him, fortunately. The situation right now is better, as you can see here. The 2 enemies are dead thanks to us. If not for us, we would probably be already losing this position. 25 seconds later, this guy, I guess, forgot about us, and he is already dead. 3 guys dead, and that is thanks to us. This just shows how much you can do with 1 tank in a good position. If you would be just sniping like this 277, our team, I guarantee you, would 100% lose the hill. They have 6 guys here, but now only 1 and 2 on the bottom hill. Now we are reloading again, and killing this Jagdpanzer will be just a second of time. We have APCRs, and this is what I really recommend to play with this tank. I mean, you can say that you don't want to gold spam. With single shooter tanks, it is understandable, but with magazines, it is really important to hit all your shells. You can't just switch that you will shoot one shell with the standard shell, one with the APCR, and that means if you sometimes even don't need one or two shells to be gold shells, and then somebody who is like more armored just comes up, you won't be able to pen him. So playing APCRs is extremely important. Now it's 8-0 and it's actually thanks to us. If it weren't for us, we would be probably winning maybe but not by a little. So we managed to kill 6 guys on the hill. We did already 5,400 damage and 1,300 assistance. That's a great score. And now it's just a formality to close this. I'm reloading, but I have HP, so I'm pushing. Fortunately, I spotted Grille, so more assistance for me. And yeah, just playing aggressively right now. And now you will see that, yeah, even though the gun is pretty accurate, we have APCRs. Not always you will hit all your shells. 4 shells, 4 misses. 1 I think in the tracks, 1 bounce. Definitely, even with a great tank, the RNG will sometimes troll you. 11-0 for us right now. We are just going as fast as possible. We have so much HP with this tank. Sometimes I recommend that you take turbocharger because the ground effects with this tank are pretty bad, so you may need this. But yeah, we are just cruising through the enemies. This may seem like this tank is pretty easy to play, but trust me, if you don't know what you are doing, it's extremely hard. And now for the last battle we have Malinovka, another map that is pretty hard to play with. Again, you can't really go onto the heavy lines because you have no turret armor, and if you want to shoot someone you have to expose your turret. Playing on the forest is also the greatest because again you have to have great turret. So our plan will be pretty aggressive, but we will try to go middle. Again, sometimes you may find someone in the middle who will do a mistake, and this tank is great at punishing mistakes. 7.5 seconds and half of the enemy is gone. We are pretty fast, so we will be able to get into the position really exceptionally. And we see the DZ75 here. So what we do, we take maybe 1 shell and try to put 4 into him. Unfortunately the first bounces, but because he is in the move and he shot, he didn't hit us. We do 3 shells into him. He is really angry at us, you can see here. But thankfully our teammates help here and he is already dead. If not for us, he would probably try to play behind the church. But thankfully we were in the right position at the right time. Now we try. Thankfully, as you can see here, the enemy heavy tanks played really aggressively as well. And it's a prime position for us. We can just basically farm them non-stop. You can see 4 shells, even though I was like 400 meters away. With standard shells you wouldn't be able to pound most of them, and with gold shells you are able to hit most of them. This gun also pretty accurate, and yeah, that is why this tank is so good. Basically the combination of the gun, potential damage you have, DPM is pretty good for a magazine. It's not like 3000, but you have almost 2700 I think damage per minute. You have some armor, you can see here on the hull. Your armor is pretty great. That's why sometimes you can try and play and bait your enemies into shooting your whole armor. So you pick, for example, behind some wall, you show only your whole armor, they shoot you there, and then you pick them and try to do as much damage as possible. But overall, yeah, the speed combination with the gun with the HP is pretty deadly. At the start, of course, I didn't manage to play as well as this tank. I struggle as well, because this tank is extremely hard. And if you are a beginner, I don't really recommend to play with this tank. Maybe you will learn something, but you have to read the minimap extremely well. You have to know where you can go, when you can go where. Because if you do a mistake with this tank, you will just disappear from the minimap. You have basically no armor except the hull armor. And even then, there are few spots where the enemies can pen you. It's 7-4. We should be winning this one. I'm looking for the E3 and thankfully I managed to spot him. I track him with the first shell, track him with the second shell. So now I know that he won't be repaired in time. 1 second more and he is dead. 1600 again. The interclip reload time with the damage of this tank is definitely exceptional. And if you want to use this tank, I definitely recommend to use gold. Even though you will spend more credits if you have a premium time, if you have some premiums. If you play for an hour with premium tanks, you will just earn so much credits that you can play with this tank for a day, I think, even. But playing with the standard shells is much worse. And this is the case with any magazine, probably. 7000 damage already. 300 spotting, so not much. We are definitely winning this one now. So I know that I won't be in time for the object, so I'm going for the EBR. The reload time is okay because we have 28-second base reload time, but of course with ventilation and the Russians we can boost it by few seconds. The last kill of the battle for us. Now the RT, but I think he is pretty well hidden. But that's basically it. If you want to any tips with this tank, I definitely can do that for you. Even though I have this tank pretty recently, it's super, it's exceptional. Definitely I recommend to get this if you are a good player. The results, so first battle you can see that we did 5000, unfortunately we lost pretty badly, nothing more we could do. Of course we are top by the XP. 6 guys did 0 damage, so that is why we probably lost it. The second battle, which was my first ace tanker, 7000 damage, 2000 spotting, 5 kills, high caliber, 1400 base XP. Definitely it was a nice battle. Unfortunately I don't have the score of the last battle, but I will show you that those aren't just 2 random battles. You can see in 15 battles I did 4000 average damage. If you use this tank correctly, definitely it is one of the best magazines for me, the best magazine on the tier 10. And now for the equipment that I'm using, basically I recommend 2 setups. So first setup, as you can see here, I have improved hardening. Second, the ventilation, it doesn't have to be bounty, but if you can, definitely this tank will be much better with this. And as a third module, the stabilizer. This setup I would use about 90% of the time, because it's the most optimal setup. You need ventilation because it's broken on magazines right now. Stabilizer definitely will help you to shoot more accurately and hit more shots. And of course the HP gives you more HP and the track HP, which your tracks won't be destroyed as easily. And the second setup that I would recommend is with the turbocharger but without hardening. And that is because if you take this setup, you are just extremely fast, even though your basic mobility is quite fast already. As you can see here, with turbocharger you can go up to 70 kilometers an hour with a heavy tank, which can be absolutely broken. Now for the fuel mods, as you can see, I don't have them all, but this is the most important one, because with this you can go this 60 kilometers an hour, and the speed is one of the best things about this tank. And now for the crew perks. For the first perk on the commander, as you probably know already, I will take coordination. Then I think I would take brothers in arms. Then probably I would think about repairs. Maybe then practicality, or if you play many clan wars, then emergency. And as a last perk, I would recommend to take the recon. For the gunner and the reloader, we have as a first perk, I would take brothers in arms, then snapshot, then armorer, then deadeye and repairs. And that is because you don't really need repairs with the improved HP. You should just be able to withstand the damage, and if the enemy even tracks you, you have the repair kit, so it won't be a big problem. Now for the reloader, if you don't plan on playing gold, I would take the intuition first, because you will need to change shells sometimes, then ammo tuning, and then probably adrenaline rush. But if you play Clan Wars, take those 3 perks that I have here, because you will play with gold. For the driver, I would pick the off-road riding as the first perk, because you have such a high top speed that without any boosts you will just not be able to get this, because your power to weight ratio is pretty mediocre. Then I think I would take Brothers in Arms, then Smooth Ride, then Repairs. After that I would take Controlled Impact, and then maybe Clutch Braking or the Engineer. You can see that I have Engineer faster, but this is because I have this crewmate trained on the slower French tanks. Radio Operator last. I would take as a first perk probably Repairs, because we didn't took it on many crewmates here. Then Brothers in Arms, then Firefighting, Side by Side, Situational Awareness, and as a last perk probably Jamming, or if you like to assist your team with tracking or spotting, Communication Expert. Now for the ammunition, as you can see here, I have the full gold. As I said earlier, this is extremely important on magazine, especially with APCRs, because sometimes you just don't have the opportunity to switch shells and you have to be ready for your opponents. You can take also a few HEs here, because you have so many shells that you won't use them all, but you won't be using them often. So overall, this tank is definitely one of the best magazines for me at the tier 10, but it is extremely difficult, so if you are a beginner, it definitely isn't tank for you. But if you play it correctly, you see that it is just a beast tank. Now that's it for the video. Thank you for watching. If you like the video, you can press the like button or the subscribe button. I will be definitely thankful. If you want to see any other tank, just leave the comment. I will try to review them also. And now that's it. Thank you for watching and see you next time.